5 adults arrested at a desert compound in New Mexico have now been indicted on terrorism charges, accused of planning deadly attacks against federal workers. The story has been on our radar ever since deputies found the body of a missing Clayton County boy inside that compound. Joe Hankey read through the indictment today. And Joe, does the indictment include any charges to this boy's disappearance?
It does, Jeff. The indictment charges 4 of the defendants with kidnapping the young boy. Prosecutors previously charged the boy's father, the 5th defendant in this case, with kidnapping when they arrested him back in August. And the federal grand jury's indictment returned this week is called a superseding indictment, meaning the new charges the defendants are now facing are added to charges they were already facing.
In 2018, we took you inside this desert compound in Taos County, New Mexico, which included underground tunnels and a gun range. During a raid here, authorities found 11 children living in terrible conditions. Deputies also found and arrested 5 adults: Jani Laville, Suraj Wahaj, Hujra Wahaj, Subhana Wahaj, and Lucas Morton. Prosecutors previously accused the 5 of planning terrorism attacks. Now, for the first time, a grand jury indictment filed in New Mexico on Wednesday charges the group with terroristic plans. The grand jury says the 5 brought firearms and ammo across state lines and then constructed and maintained a training compound. Next, they are accused of providing money, training, and weapons, knowing those resources would be used in preparation for carrying out attacks against government employees. Jani Lavelle and Suraj Wahaj are named as instructing people at the compound to, quote, be prepared to engage in jihad, to die as martyrs, and engage in violent acts, including killing Federal Bureau of Investigation employees, government officials, and military personnel. In courtroom testimony last year, authorities described finding some of the 11 children handling ammunition and found at least 1 child with a gun. This week's indictment goes on to name Lavelle and Suraj Wahaj, plus Lucas Morton, as the trio planning to kill officers and employees of the United States. With the indictment released Wednesday, all 5 adults are now also charged with kidnapping a Metro Atlanta boy. In 2017, Abdul Wahaj's mother reported his dad, Suraj, took the boy from their Clayton County home. When Taos County deputies raided the compound, they did not initially find the boy, but during another search, they found his body. Abdul's mother said he suffered from seizures, which authorities say the father believed was a sign of the devil, and that he planned to perform an exorcism at the compound.
All 5 defendants are expected to be back in court next week. Coming up at 6, we will show you how investigators learned of this compound last year and detail the arsenal of weapons they found there that prosecutors listed in the indictment returned this week. Cheryl.
All right, Joe, thank you so much.